Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webcast, Power BI and Solver BI360. Discover a dynamic duo. Whether you're looking for a replacement for your FRX or wish that management reporter could better fit your need, we can help clear things up. To introduce you to a better alternative, BI360 and Power BI. Next, I'd like to introduce you to today's presenters. Tom Franks, Vice President of Sales at Solver BI, and Michael Hammonds, Director of Customer Experience for AKA Enterprise Solutions. Before we get started, I ask that you please submit any questions you may have for today's presenter by typing them into the questions pane of the control panel. You may submit your questions at any time. We will address as many as possible during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. With that said, I'll pass the mic to Thomas Franks to kick off the presentation. Take it away, Tom.
Thanks so much, Jessica. And here at Solver, I do get the question quite a bit. How is BI360 and Power BI compete? And then that's really the wrong question. 90% of what BI360 does and Power BI does are complementary to each other. And that's really what I want to highlight in this webinar. So go ahead to the next screen. BI360 is a modular approached suite. So we have a reporting, and that can be management reporter type financial reporting, but also subledger reporting. We have a planning module that's budgeting and forecasting. We have a data warehouse that is a great place for multiple applications, and especially multiple companies of an application like GP to exist together with, say, CRM and payroll data from an outsourced payroll provider. And that data in the data warehouse can be combined, can be used not only by our reporting tool in BI360, but by Power BI as well, since we're all in the same Microsoft stack. We also have a collaboration or portal that you'll see in our dashboard is really the one area that we have some overlap with Power BI, and we'll see that to Power BI. Go ahead to the next screen. So if you look at our architecture slide, and that's been around a while, the key is the ERP data there at the bottom center. That allows us to take live data, that's kind of the dotted line there, and for reporting and or sometimes planning, access that live GP or AX or whatever else data. But then also we have the option of that data warehouse. That's unique to BI360 to have both a direct and a data warehouse product in the same product, and of course for the same manufacturer. Also, we are able to do this now in the cloud as well as on-premise or in private cloud. So whatever your cloud transition strategy is, BI360 should be compatible with that. Go ahead to the next one. And then still the number one question is, how does BI360 compare to Management Reporter? Really, we do everything that Management Reporter does, plus we use all of the fields. You know, account category wasn't used by FRX and lightly used by MR, but we can also use user-defined fields and other things to help create our reports. We create dynamic reports. I'll show that a little bit today, but essentially that allows us to dynamically print all the rows in a column as opposed to just adding them up for printing later. We have all the Excel formatting. We have a web interface and an Excel interface for end users. And last, we have a cell level control. I'll show a little bit of that in a minute as well. And I think I have one more slide, and then I'll move to the actual software. So we do have a pricing option here. We have 15% off of BI360, whatever that new system would be, until September 20th. And two special offers that we have. One is our two companies, kind of 5 modules and users in our reporting for our Azure cloud, and that's ready to be accessed by Power BI. Includes that data warehouse I talked about. And then secondly, we can do our on-premise one for $3.99 a month. I'm sorry, the first one was $8.40 a month. I didn't say that. So for about half that price, you can do it on-premise, and then that data, of course, and the GP data from that is ready to be accessed by Power BI as well. Okay, let's go ahead and switch presenters, and I'll show some of this. So what I'm showing first is a portal-based report. This is a report done for an end user. It happens to be 4 companies consolidated in a 4 companies consolidated on this report, including currency conversion. We're running it for a special period and running it for a budget. A couple of things to show here is, first, we have the graphics you'd expect in Excel. Of course, graphs, fonts, colors within here. At the bottom, we have a head count. We make full use of statistical accounts, and you can add many others as well. But then a couple of the smaller things, and kind of one of my favorites is we took the bottom line, that E60 that's most important, but we put that up at the top, put it in column F, and made it an extra big font. So it's extra easy for non-accountants to tell what the most important lines are, because you made them big and you made them green and look like money, and anything else you want to help make it simple for a non-accountant to understand this. Of course, it's still fine for the accountants to go and look at the bottom lines and find out what's going on there too. This report, again, as many different columns as you want for, current month, last year, year-to-date, last year-to-date, variances, and all of those formulas are done in Excel. This report is designed in Excel with our Excel add-in. That makes it extra easy to do the things that most reporting, especially BI tools, don't do well, such as taking all the different GL accounts that make up revenue, putting them together. Same with some of these others, and then all the different little ratios here. And the exact formatting of that you want to is available with BI360. This is downloadable to Excel with formulas, so you can always do that. Turn this into a what-if report if you wish. And then last, I'll take a look. I want to show one more report on here, or 2 more reports, then I'll go into report creation mode, and then last I'll come back and show a quick glimpse of budgeting and forecasting. So the first, this is a cash flow report, and of course we do that. They're very important. If I take a quick look at some of this, I can then drill down into the transactions that make this up, and that's very important. All of our reports have that drill down ability within BI360, and this is pulling from our data warehouse, so we have the ability to pull this even if it's from multiple companies of this, or even from multiple data sources. Last, because it's Excel, we have the ability to just put in notes and other types of things, which can be very important as well. Okay, a third thing that I want to show, and this is a quick sales report. This is, again, an Excel-based report. If I scroll down, of course, I have a lot of my sales by customer, by sales rep, and those types of things, but also have the graphs at top too. And of course, with Excel, we have unlimited ability to do that as well. But I wanted to show this one to make the point that BI360 works with all the data that you want to put in the data warehouse, be it sales orders, be it general ledger, be it CRM data, be it something else entirely as well. Okay, so I'm going to switch now to my designer mode and kind of show 2 quick things here. The first is I have a feature that I didn't show yet called trees, where we're allowed to put overlapping. I have a geography tree and a line of business tree here, taking my 4 companies, mixing them together how I wish, and it allows me to regroup these on the fly. click the Save button, and then be able to show these together as well. So a very easy way to group and subgroup and sort things that you want to, that we call trees. Management Reporter has trees. Think of this quite similar, except we have it work on every dimension, including natural account, including potentially sales reps, purchase agents, customers, vendors, things like that too. So looking at the first report that I did in design mode, kind of power user mode, I wanted to show that this report's pretty short. If I take a look at row 20, and this is kind of the key for a Management Reporter user, is that we have the ability to expand this and say every GL account that is revenue, or I could hold down a control key and add a second option, would allow me to see all of these in the report. I can display blank records if I prefer as well. And when I run this, watch this expand along with row 25 as well. Third, before I go, I'll show you one other thing. The variance column here, that's a standard Excel calculation. Same with the variance percentage, standard Excel formulas. So you do not have to relearn how to do that if you know how to do it in Excel. That will work. As this expands, so will the formulas expand as well. Again, watch row 20 and 25 as I recalculate this report. So here are my rows. I had some blank ones here as well. Again, there's my Excel formula for each of these. Then even did the group ungroup here in terms of the salaries or overhead expenses if I did the salaries. So I'm hiding it from the natural account level, doing it by a group category. Often one of my favorite ways to get a long report on a small screen or a small piece of paper. Okay, so that's one example, and again, very high level overview. I want to show one last thing before I put this back to Michael. We have a forecasting option here. What's in yellow is kind of our visual cue to say, here is where we will do where we'll enter data. So we can now come in and say, what is our benefits expense going to be for the last couple months of the year? Do we want to ramp up marketing, or do we want to taper it off a little bit for the end of the year? So we can put in what we want to do. Of course, the totals recalculate and so on, and then we can save that data to the data warehouse, and it's all there and ready to go. So this is part of our budgeting module and forecasting. We have more other shortcuts in how to get data in and spread that and other things, but just wanted to show the forecasting. We did 10 months of actual, 2 months of forecast, but of course, depending on the month of the year, that would switch automatically as well. So kind of to summarize, BI360 is a great financial report writer. It has an optional data warehouse module that fits for ways to combine data sources, which is a thing that most Power BI folks do kind of as a data warehouse or data mart manually. And then third, we include the budgeting and forecasting ability. Save that forecast. That forecast is also available for Power BI, so it can be used immediately by Power BI users as well. So very complementary in what we do. So I'm going to go ahead and, Michael, go ahead and take it away on the Power BI side.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. So I'm going to cover now Power BI. Right? And so oftentimes we're asked about Power BI, why? All right. And to net it out in the most simplest way possible and the most exciting for us is it is simply the most powerful, most affordable dashboard and reporting solution available today, outside, of course, BI360, which is also very affordable. And so one of the things that really makes it powerful is that if you know Excel, then you also know Power BI, because the formulas that it uses to connect to the data and manipulate the data is actually the same formulas that you use in Excel. So one of the big ones that Power users in particular, especially the financial reporters out there, use a lot is a function in Excel called VLOOKUP. Right? Basically, it's a way to look up data in another worksheet or another set of data. Well, you use those same kind of formulas in Power BI. So if you already know Excel very, very well, particularly you do a lot of the functions, you know, and function can also include sum, average, calc, you know, those types of things. It's already in there. So you can actually very quickly transition to Power BI. Not only that, I'm going to show you also how you can take your existing Excel, and that could even be one of the spreadsheets that Tom just showed, and embed that into Power BI. And so ultimately, all this really does is it makes business intelligence fast, flexible, easy to use, and affordable. You know, and we'll cover here, for example, the pricing in a minute. But a lot of times we get the question of, you know, what's the difference between, or as Tom opened up, you know, there's about an 80–90% over a complementary stack with these. So the way we kind of help customers understand where you would maybe look at one or the other or together is the really strong budgeting, forecasting, also oftentimes called planning capabilities that Tom demonstrated. So especially that write back capability, right? So that you'd be able to update your forecasts and update your plans for, say, the coming year, the coming quarter, how often you do that. So it's very strong, and it's already got pre-built financial reports. Also kind of this traditional paginated reports, so the reports you like to print. Whereas Power BI is really more of a highly visual application, and I'm going to demonstrate that. It also probably a little bit more easy to mash up data from multiple sources, and we'll demonstrate that. Just like BI360, it does extend Excel and make it even more powerful. But there's also a lot of data shaping and modeling. So you saw in one of Tom's slides the image of kind of that central data warehouse. Well, with Power BI, you can tap into that same data warehouse that module would create, and you can extend that data warehouse model to include data from other sources, but you don't have to go through a data warehouse. It's still very easy to connect to multiple different data sources, pull them into your Power BI application, and marry the two together. Okay? So there's a lot fewer steps than most traditional business intelligence applications. And then there's really the two others that make this really, really unique is what's called the Q&A or question and answer module, which means you can ask it and type in simple questions in English, and it will, in most cases, figure it out and push back to you the data that you're asking for. So it's a way for you to ask a new question that might not be in your existing, say, chart, bar chart or column chart or line chart. You might want to slice the data a different way, but you're not exactly sure, you know, how you might do that. You can actually ask the question and then change the visual on the fly. And then you can also embed this in other applications. So for example, if you're a operations customer, Dynamics 365 operations, you'll see you have the ability to display Power BI dashboards inside of operations. Same thing if you're a Dynamics 365 CRM user. You can display those Power BI dashboards inside of Dynamics CRM modules. And let's just say that, you know, on a wild chance you've got some other CRM system, in all likelihood, you can still embed those visualizations in the dashboards and reports inside those other applications. And then from a pricing perspective, and this is why we say it's so affordable, there's nobody else out there that's doing it this inexpensively. So $9.99 per user per month, so $120 a year, all up. You get access to everything that's available inside of Power BI. And there's now a new option if you would like to deploy on-premise, so you're still not quite there on pushing everything to the cloud. On-premise does start at $49.95. And again, you won't find anything near this on the market today in terms of price and affordability. Okay. So with that, we're going to jump into a couple little demonstrations here. And so I'm first going to start with at the Power BI service. Okay. And so this is where you publish your dashboards and visualizations to a central location. And then from here, you can share that data. So you see right here, I've got a dashboard, and if I wanted to share that, I simply hit my little share button here, and I can type in the address to anybody else that I would like to share that information with. Okay? So think about that compared to how we often see people doing financial reporting and all kinds of reporting. Anything Excel-based reporting is more often than not, somebody creates the information and the visuals and the data inside of Excel. They probably are pulling it from multiple different sources, doing your VLOOKUPs, doing your calculations, and then once it's all set, you send that out via email, right? So only people who get are on that email chain get that report. And so people often wonder, am I on the right version? Is this the most up-to-date? Things along those lines that can make it challenging by doing your reporting that way. Okay. But as you can see here, I've got a number of different dashboards, and if I wanted to add some new visuals to my dashboard, it's very simple. We're going to say drill into this, and I'm going to go, now we're drilling down into the data. We're drilling into what's called the report level, and you'll see we get a lot more detail than just that high-level visual summary. So in this case, in this particular visual, I'm looking backwards, right? See, how did we do most recently? And we see that, year to date, we're at 51 million. But then if we look forward and look ahead in our pipeline, that information that we haven't yet closed, we're at 113 million. So you can see on one visual, I'm showing data that happened in the past as well as data that we hope will happen in the future. Same thing here if we drill over into sales. We have now sales overlaid from period over period, right? So are we increasing year over year? And you can drill down into that and go, in this case, we've got month to date, quarter to date, year to date, or you can turn on what's called drill down and be able to drill into that actual individual data. But let's just say, you know what, I kind of like this visual and I would like to see that on my personal dashboard. So I hit that little pin and I'm going to go ahead and I have a number of different dashboards that I've created here. I'm going to pin it to my Contoso dashboard. And let's see if there's another interesting visual that I would like to see here. So I'm going to go check out maybe the pipeline. Yeah, we can do that. Or maybe the owner field. Let's get some maybe sales by rep. Okay, so let's go in. I'm going to pop that one on to the dashboard, and let's pin one more onto the dashboard. Okay, so I'm now creating the thing that I like. Now, here's where we get into this mashup idea as well, and this is a very simple mashup. Let's say that I've got some accounting data from my company scorecard, right? And if I drill down into this, I can now take information that's in this completely separate report and set of visuals, right? And now I want to pin that to my personal dashboard at this moment. So we're going to pin that one. Actually, let's use a different one. Let's go to procurement. And we're going to drill down into this, and I want to pin this data that is from a completely different report, a completely different set of data, right? So we're going to pin that one also to my Contoso database. So this is a way I can have, for example, I might have sales data, I might have financial data from orders, invoices, my general ledger information from my ERP system. I might have a case management system that's completely separate. I can pull in data from there and build my own mashup of all that data that helps me understand what's happening in my area of responsibility without having to go to IT, without having to get somebody go and create multiple special reports, things along those lines. Right, so if I scroll down here, you'll see, oh, there's those new visuals that I added to my personal dashboard. Okay? It's as simple as that, all point and click. Right? Now, the other area that we find is really exciting is this Q&A, and it does a really good job. So let's just say you see that right now I don't really have any data that's showing it me by customer. Right? So I'm going to ask a question, and let's just say I'm going to do show me actual revenue, and let's just say by account. Boom. All right. Show me. There we go. So you'll see that it figured out what I was saying, and it then sorted that information. So there's my top level account name, and that's the highest revenue. Okay. I can go a little more fancy. I can keep expanding on the questions that I ask, and for brevity, I'm going to do a copy and paste here. And notice that now I want to see actual revenue by country, but I want it sorted by revenue, right? And let's say, you know what, the scatter chart's all right. I can see there's a big flyer out here, but you know what, I want to change that visual to something different. So maybe I like a column chart. Oh, look, there we go. And I even actually now it's even helping me and showing me actual revenue and open revenue, right? So and let's say maybe, you know what, I kind of like a bar chart instead. So you can flip these visuals very easily just by expanding your visualization chart and picking the ones that you want. Right? So all kinds of questions can be answered and asked and answered by the system. So you don't have to have a visual already created. You don't have to know you don't have to know anything other than how to type. That's the bottom line. So I can't imagine it getting any more easy than that, right? So let's look at now, I'm going to kind of go behind the scenes here a little bit. And one of the other capabilities is, let's say, you know, this Power BI thing, it looks interesting, I like it a lot, but, you know, everybody's married to Excel. Everybody loves Excel, right? And I think oftentimes it's a love-hate, right? But we won't get into that topic. But what you'll see here is I've got some data, and this is just some data out of an ERP system. So I've got, you know, units sold, manufacturer price, sales, costs of goods, all that fun stuff. And out of that, I created a couple of charts. Okay, so notice here I'm just in Excel. I happen to be in Excel 2016, but it will work in older versions. And I want to take this table here out of Excel, right? And I want to pin that to one of my dashboards. Pretty sweet, right? Okay, so I'm just going to say go to my workspace, and yep, I'm just going to leave it going into my Contoso dashboard. Now you'll notice here that earlier I had pinned this other visual there, but I wanted to really help you understand how powerful this is. So if I want to take a baby step and I don't want to redo my reports and flip them into Power BI from Excel, this is a perfect way to share data and information out of your already existing reports. Okay, let that sink in for a second. A way to very easily share the existing Excel reports and data to other people in my organization, right? And it can even be those reports that Tom was showing. So we can take those financial reports out of BI360 and have those show up in my Contoso dashboard. All right, so let's go back to my dashboard here, and we'll go back to Contoso. And if I scroll down here, we'll see there is that earlier pivot chart. So let me flip back to Excel so you can see that's the exact same thing. So we've got, here's Excel, right? So Maria, all that, okay? And now if I keep scrolling down, there's my other 4 ones from the other dashboard. Oh, there we go. There's my pivot table from Excel that I just pushed up there. So imagine that now, okay? Instead of doing all that work, dropping it into an email, an attachment, and sending out that attachment to all those that need it, and then they download it and they open it, you got one place for everybody to go, and that will always be the most up-to-date information once you've posted it up there. right? So we feel that that's just truly a very powerful capability. Okay? And now the other piece that we talked very briefly about was, if you know Excel, then you also know Power BI. So I'm going to show you an example of that. I'm going to go into now, this is the Power BI desktop application. Okay, the application itself is free. You can download it off of the website, and you can start connecting to your data. Okay, so, and keep that in mind, there is a free version out there, but it's considered a personal version, right? So it's kind of still like Excel. You download it, you can connect to the data, you can create your own, but you can't share it with other people. You can share the whole file, but it's a problem, right? So what you can now do, let's say I'm going to add some new, I want to add a new column of information so that I can do a visual on this dashboard. Okay, so I'm going to hit my data table here, and in this case, we're just going to do a simple count column. Okay, I want to be able to count records based upon a selection that I make. So I'm going to do new column, and this is very simple. Again, I'm just going to be doing an Excel function. So when you create either a new column or a new measure or a new table, you'll see that this little basically formula bar shows up. And where have we seen that before? Oh, I don't know, maybe in Excel. Yeah, right. So that's formula bar is exactly the same as this formula bar for all intents and purposes. Okay. So I'm just going to get rid of that. I want to call this column total count. And to keep it simple, I'm just going to say 1. Okay. Because ones are easy to add up, right? And so once I type that formula in, I hit the little checkbox, so I can press enter, and now what you'll see is it's going to add that new column to my table. Okay, so if I scroll over here, and you'll see there it is, total count, and they're all of the columns. So for all the data, regardless of how much I have, it could be 100 rows, it could be 1,000,000 rows, it'll kind of flow that formula down through all of the data. And now once I've added this to my data model, right, and so notice that it's now part of my opportunities, I can go back to the visual part, and let's just say I want to do maybe a total count of opportunities. So I can just drag and drop this over, and it can be in this nice little visual there. So it looks like we've got almost 120,000 opportunities in here. But you know what? I just kind of want to make this more of a number, so make it easy. Oh, look, there we go, or 119,000 of them right there. And now let's say, you know what? I want to be able to do a couple of drills. So I want to turn on that, and I'm going to turn on maybe my sales stage. And we're going to turn these into what's typically in Excel you call a slicer. But in Power BI, we just simply call it a filter. Exact same thing. So now you'll see, okay, show me how many opportunities or that I have in the develop stage. So there's 7,185. How about in the qualify stage, 12,000, and in proposed stage, 4,905, right? And how about show me how we have in progress? So we got 16,000 out of the 120,000 that are still active or in progress, right? So that's how quick, and then if I want to throw this into a nicer visual, we can kind of come down to here, and maybe we want to see that in more of a, no, let's do a column chart. So let's drag this down, we'll drag, there we go. And now I'm going to do my total count and by sales stage. And now you see you've got the visual on top of your numbers. So if I hit qualify, notice that the data remains linked. I didn't have to do anything. I just simply drag and drop, and off to the races we go. Okay. And now from here, once I'm ready, I've updated it and I want to share it with people, I hit the publish button. That pushes it up to Power BI. And then we can go back and we'll then see that information available in the Power BI portal. And then from here, share it with whomever you want. There's also very strong mobile capability. So any of these visuals that you see inside of the web browser, you will also see the exact rendering in your smartphone. Doesn't matter if it's an iPhone, an Android phone, a Windows phone, the displays will look, it'll obviously be shrunk down to the right size, but even this Excel data will actually show up on your mobile devices. So now you can have access to the data anytime, anywhere, on any device. Pretty sweet, right? Okay. And then finally we said, we talked a little bit about the embedding in other applications, in case there's some people on the line who've never really seen the information inside of, say, inside of our CRM. We'll flip that over here. Let me grab this off of another screen. And there we go. And now you'll see that here is my Dynamics 365. I've got this under my dashboards, and I created one under my dashboards, just saw, Alpha, AdventureWorks. So I got some data in here from the AdventureWorks database, and there we go. That's now data that is pulling these visuals out of the Power BI service and whatever data sources I had and putting them inside of this other application. Okay. So built in for financials, for operations, for CRM. If you have another application, there is a little bit of coding that has to go on, but it's all JavaScript and really relatively easy to make happen. And yes, you can also pass, for example, parameters. So if I wanted it to drill to a certain record automatically in that other application, say I navigate to my Contoso in my financial system, and I want to see the related information and have it automatically drilled, you can do things like that as well. So very powerful from that standpoint. Okay. So with that, we're going to open up the Q&A, and Jessica, I think, will let us know if there's any additional questions.
Yes. Great. Thank you, Mike. And thank you, Tom. So we have one question here, and also you still have, as a reminder, we still have a few more minutes, so if you'd like to submit your questions, you could submit them in the control panel. So the first question is, how does Power BI manage data level security for users viewing reports?
Okay, common question. We do get that a lot, and there's really two ways to do that. One is a built-in way to essentially create a table that you say for each person, you would add each person you want to have access to the data in this table, and then you make sure that that information is in the related data. So it's a pretty easy process. It's called RLS, or record level security. Once you've got those people in there and you have it associated with, say, for example, you have a list of people, left of sales reps, let's say, and then in your opportunity data, okay, we pull in data from our opportunity table. As long as you have those same names in that table, then if I'm John and I log in and I go to the opportunity visual, it's only going to show me the opportunities that have my name associated with them. So very simple that way. Second one, a little more work, and you have to set up what's called an Azure analysis cube. And then we embed in the security there, and that's all driven off of your Active Directory credentials. And again, it has to be in the data, but a little more working, but that is the second option, is to build a SAS cube with that appropriate information.
Thank you. Next question is, can we have a tree-based reporting similar to BI360 in Power BI?
Yes, there is a new visual that's in what's Microsoft's parlance is called preview mode, so you can think of it as beta. And in that, it does allow you to, I want to go to Excel here, you'll see that there's this matrix table here. And so if I add this to a visual, this will give me that kind of tree style capability. So let's say maybe I want to have as sales stage, and then maybe status, and then let's throw in some sales revenue. So let's do like some estimated revenue. Oops, and my status didn't get thrown up there. There we go. And let's see.
Well, Michael, while you're doing that, this is Tom. If you use the BI360 data warehouse together with Power BI, all of those fields for the tree are available to use, and you can use that for selection and sorting as well.
Yeah. And so my data is just not really rolled up correctly here, but you would then see sales stage, and then the next kind of tree or expansion down would by, let's just say status, and then you can keep going down and build additional levels into that tree. Right? So, or you can also do turn on. So you see I drilled down that way. Or if we go here, now you'll see there's all my qualifies and what stages they're in, all my develops and what status they're in, all my stage 3s and what status they're in. So you can keep building on to that particular, let's say maybe I want source in there as well. And you'll see that if I drill down again, boom, it'll keep going down further and further in that tree. So yeah, not the same as we're used to, but very similar. It doesn't have the little plus minus on there, because what you do is you end up kind of filtering by your slicers, and then you'll see that the data changes to reflect that. So brand new, and yeah, you can now have that.
Thanks, Mike. The next question is, does BI360 only work on general ledger summary data?
No, works on way more than the general ledger data. We get asked by about general ledger data the most, and the first 2 report examples I did were on that. But the third example I did today was on sales data, and the most important thing, 2 things to know about BI360 is it works off the entire data platform that we have. If it's live off, say, GP or AX, all of that data. Or if we're using the data warehouse, it works on everything that you put in there, be it accounting data or CRM data or data you've put in, say, customer satisfaction surveys that usually aren't in any application, but again, still important data. So you can put that in there and create those fields on the fly, and then they're available to be used by BI360 reporting or Power BI reporting. So no, way more than just GL. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Tom. And our last question is Power BI a cloud-only solution?
And that used to be a yes question, but now as of, I can't remember the exact, I guess June 1st was the actual live date of Power BI for on-premise. There's now a capability called Power BI Report Server. That starts at $5,000 per month, but no additional, other than you have to have at least 1 pro license in order to do your editing. But outside of that, then you can share with any number of people in your organization. So if you got a lot of people, then that very quickly becomes, again, very affordable, down into the, with enough users, pennies per user, frankly. So yes, absolutely, you can now deploy on-premise and keep going with on-cloud.
And on the BI360 side, we announced June 15th that we now have availability of BI360 Cloud and Azure-based hosted, as well as the on-premise that we've been doing for 8 years. So both of these solutions are now in the cloud or on-premise and can be switched when you're ready, not when software manufacturers are ready.
Thank you. And a few more questions just came in. So the next question is there a Power BI trial?
Yes, there is a Power BI trial. You get the Power BI Pro trial for free for 30 days. And there is there's some caveats in there in that some people have tried it out, maybe tried it out a few months ago. And so if you go in and you haven't been in there for a while, if you started a trial, I think anytime basically within the last year, they will extend, and you'll get a pop-up message when you go into your Power BI portal that will extend out a year. So some of you may get lucky and get the 1-year pro trial extension for any number of users, but otherwise, if not, you didn't catch that window, then you still get a 30-day free trial. And then from that point forward, if you want to start sharing and doing more sophisticated analysis with multiple different connections and things like that, then you go to the paid version of $9.99 per user per month.
Great. And then someone asked, what data sources does Power BI support?
Pretty much any. So if we go into our little Power BI application here and I hit Get Data, you'll see that here's all the pre-built connectors, which is another thing that really saves a lot of time and effort, is that these are all pre-built connectors. So the service already knows how to talk to these applications, right? So if you're on any IBM applications, you're on Teradata, you're on SAP, all kinds of applications. They're continuously adding new connectors. So even, SaaS-based applications are out here. And then if your application is not with a built-in connector, as long as it has a web service interface, that's one way to connect to it without a connector. Or if you can at least export that data and ideally export it automatically on a periodic basis and drop it into, say, a central file location, then we can grab it from those exports as well. So lots of ways to get around it if there's not a pre-built connector, and I think something around 60 plus and counting on the built-in connectors. So is that all we got?
Thank you. And then is this assuming that Power BI has native connector to, I'm sorry. Okay. So assuming that Power BI has a native connector to Dynamics AX.
Not currently AX. There is one in preview. I think it's still in preview. Maybe it's been released in Operations, which is essentially the latest version of AX. But we can use web services to connect to older versions of AX.
Or BI360 Data Warehouse.
There we
you
go.
have that.
Thank you, Tom. Yes. Yeah, so that's actually a great way. So you can connect with your BI360, do your financial reporting, do your budgeting, do your planning, forecasting, that sort of thing, and then have it build the data models from that, and then you can tap into BI360 with Power BI on top of that, and you save yourself a couple steps there, because there are pre-built connectors with BI360 into AX, GP, and a number of other systems.
And that reminds me of one other point, and especially in the AX part, worlds where there's often a disconnect between the data that the accounting department wants to release for people to do reporting on, end of month allocations, or have been done or not done, and other things like that, or eliminating entries if that's necessary in a multi-company environment. So the BI360 data warehouse gives a place to be able to have that set of accounting, a blessed end of month data that might be hard to recreate if you're doing more of a live against the AX data type of thing, especially, that would include current month transactions possibly for the, first 2 weeks of a month. So BI360 Data Warehouse can often help in doing that. Certainly we don't exclude more current data, but we have some tools and fields there to help protect that data as necessary.
All right. Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Mike. That concludes the questions and the presentation today, and thanks everyone for your participation. In the next couple of days, you'll receive a copy of the presentation as well as a link to the recording of the webcast. And if you have any other questions, please contact us, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.